Hello, my darling, and welcome to today's story time. Chapter 7. Brave passed around anti-alcohol tablets, those excellent remedies for drunkenness developed in Japan in 1957. And they all ate them and drank water and looked at one another and grinned. That was quite a bat while it lasted, said Don. McEldowney rested his head on the couch and closed his eyes. Occasionally the tablets would put one to sleep for a short time. Rob Pope said, "We've had our reaction against all the shocks, and it was a luxury I think we deserved. But now we've got to plot and plan. The telecast is our first big hope. Let's put our heads together." Mac opened his eyes and produced a sickening thud. "Okay, we'll see what we can do. Or more likely," he said thoughtfully, "what we can't do." The door opened and Wynne came in, a look of contrition on her face. They all gaped at her. "Well," she said to Alan, "it's like this. I'm sorry. I blew my cork. I was insulted. I'm not anymore. I know the strain you've been under, and I realize it was an awful coincidence to happen just when it did. I forgive you and your tame flamingo with the wandering hands. Can I help?" "Take a pew," said Ellen, relieved beyond words. "We're talking out the telecast. You can help, sweetheart." When it was time to leave, they had decided to take Rob Pope's station wagon rather than an air taxi. Brave locked up the house. Both he and Alan felt they might not be able to come back, at least not soon. Just before he shut the front door, a brown blur shot past him and landed on Alan's chest. Unquote clung there, claws entangled in his jacket, great blue eyes begging with false humility to be taken along. "I nearly forgot you, kitten," he said. He boosted her up to his shoulder, and the 8 of them got into the station wagon. Brave reeled it about and sent it roaring towards Manhattan. Just before 8, they entered the studio. McEldowney said, "How about you lads waiting in the reception room? If anybody comes raging into the place for our hides, you can cause them a certain amount of trouble before they get to the doc and me." Brave looked reluctant, but agreed. The others trooped out. Max said, "You can watch it on the monitor," and then locked the door behind them. "There's an extra precaution. Now for it, Doc. Cross your fingers." The lights came on. Alan talked well, just at first, while McEldowney was giving him a purposefully vague introduction. He felt rather light-headed, but this passed quickly. He had the feeling that something had tried to insert itself into his thoughts. Whatever it was, it failed, he said thankfully. Mac finished his introduction. Alan began to speak. He gave it to his audience straight and fast, without preamble, lest an engineer or official with access to the controls should be mutant or alien. "Listen to me," he said. "There are enemies among us, enemies from another world, or perhaps sports of our own species. We are all in deadly danger." He spoke coolly and sanely. There could be no mistaking his competence to talk on the subject, he thought. "I sound like an old statesman, and if that's vanity, let it be." After sketching in the incidents which had led to his suspicions, he told of the disk's unsuspected power, and of the pilot who could expand his body inhumanly in every direction. He did not mention Grady's death. He stressed the need for immediate action. What that action must be, though, he said, I don't presume to suggest. There are many more men more qualified to tell you that than I am. But here are my ideas. Seek them out, he said. Try to recall incidents accidents that make sense to you. Try to remember instances of lack of pain. I'm sorry I can't give you more identifying traits, but that's all we know so far. Except the lack of pores, the heightened senses. There will be trouble. I am sure there will be bloodshed. Don't quail, don't despair. We'll beat them. We're essentially a decent race, and from all indications, they are devious, malevolent, and evil. But we outnumber them, that's pretty certain. Don't flinch. Don't hesitate. Seek them out. Capture them. Kill them. But find them. He was really a little proud of himself as the telecast ended. He even felt lightheaded again and ascribed it to pride. McEldowney clapped him on the shoulder. Well, boy, if this mess pans out okay, you and I can take our pick of soft government posts or retire on the bounty of a grateful world. Let's see what the gang thought of it. He unlocked the door and opened it. Brave stood on the threshold, his dark face bewildered. The others crowded behind him, worried, tense. Alan, said his friend. What went wrong? Alan's belly shrank back and sweat broke out onto his palms. What do you mean, Brave? Didn't it go on the air? It must have, Max said. I was watching a monitor. It went on all right, Brave sighed. He looked beaten. I should have guessed they wouldn't let you do it. They'd get to you some way, both of you. For the love of God, Brave, cried Alan. What are you talking about? The other rested his hands on the scientist's shoulders. Son, he said quietly, you talked about fuel. The two of you talked for 15 minutes about the newest developments in rocket fuel. We never said a damned word about the enemy race. And this, my darling, ends our story time for today. As always, I hope that you have very sweet and creepy dreams.